I'm ready to go. So just Did you tweet out? It looks like he's muted on his side, just to be informed that he's muted. It's been muting, like the default has been muting people.
Can you hear me?
Ready?
Well, welcome in on this Tuesday morning. Myself, Kyle's in here. Got a lot of fun things to talk about. Kyle, it's a little bit weird to be sitting here at an 8 a.m. with you. How you doing?
What's up, Ty? Everyone's like, we can hear you. Yeah, okay, that's good. We're glad that you guys can hear us. Oh, my mic is got you. Sometimes, so a lot of the times when you I'm working on another stage setup. So I have Taylor has her stage, I have mine, and then I'm working on a stage number 3. So when I unplug the computer, there's different, you know how it is, Ty, the sometimes your computer defaults to different ports or whatever. So sounds good, right? Ty, you can hear me fine?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Perfect. Okay. Well, good. No, man, but I appreciate you being here at 8 in the morning to start off. So how's your morning, Ty?
Hey, I can't complain. I'm a little bit of an insomniac, so I'm really late to bed, really early to rise. So I'm always ready to go, man. I'm always ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, and I'll be back on at 9, and then we have Smook at 10, right, T?
That is correct.
All right, T's in the back. Yeah, so that's kind of the schedule today, but I wanted just to kind of hop on and warm up the show with you, Ty. Did you see that Alabama offered a running back by the name of Bo Jackson yesterday?
Yeah, and that cat looks like he shot out of a cannon when he picks the hole he's going to attack. It is something to see. He's a very talented young man. Excited to see where he ends up.
Yeah, so in case you missed it yesterday, and I'll kind of talk about this a little bit more, but Alabama offered Bo Jackson, and someone inside the comment box was like, he played in the NFL. He's not coming to Bama. No. But there's a prospect in the class of 2025 who's a running back, of course, and he's named Bo Jackson, and he's out of Akron, Ohio. And like you said, Ty, the one clip, I've literally watched one clip of him, and the guy is he looked incredible in that one clip. Now, I have to kind of dive in more to him, but if Alabama is, extending an offer, clearly that's a good sign. And you can't even imagine how Auburn fans would feel if Alabama had a running back come, to come to Alabama as being named Bo Jackson, right? It's that would be the all-time troll.
Well, and not only that, he's from New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And Alabama just extended a defensive back out of Norfolk, Virginia. Very talented, 6'3", rangy defensive back. Looking at the safety position, physical, has some range. So Bama's on the East Coast right now, doing some work and recruiting. So it's interesting to kind of see these offers pour in. You have some East Coast ties through some of the guys on this staff. Excited to see what that recruiting looks like just nationally as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone literally across the entire country, right? You have, the wide receiver who they offered from Mater Dei out in California. You have a prospect that they offered from New Mexico. in Mason Posa, who's a linebacker. You have Alabama going to Ohio for Bo Jackson. You have them going to New Jersey. You have them going to Florida. So clearly, the scope of the recruiting scene is national, and the world is smaller because of Zooms and private planes or whatever you have it. But I think this staff wants to. I would imagine that this staff kind of has like a secret chip on their shoulder in terms of recruiting, because they want to be able to prove that they can recruit like Saban. And good morning to you guys. Noah, let's clear this up real quick on the transfer from Texas A&M. Ty, can you explain that? Because he's from the SEC. I'm sure you know the rules and the limitations about it, but let's kind of clear this up. And good morning to you, Noah. Thank you very much for the question. Go ahead and hit on that, Ty.
Undefeated, happy you're in here on this Tuesday morning. Roll in the good mornings as you come through here. Let us know what you're interested in talking about today. But Noah, to answer your question more directly, it's one of the rules, it's a rule in college football that makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, the way these portal windows lie. In the earlier portal window, Noah, you could transfer from SEC to SEC. However, now that's not allowed in the spring portal. Now, the reason why that's nonsensical to me is because you're allowed, when Saban retires, they can go from SEC to SEC. That's no problem. The first window, SEC to SEC, is no problem. It's just putting the limitations on it now seems a little bit nonsensical, but Matthews is not going to be able to transfer to an LSU, to anywhere within the SEC. And I bring up LSU because he's from Louisiana, which means where could he go? Now, I have heard nothing but Kyle, just an interesting thought process here. Oregon is a team to watch. They were after Sapp, right? Like they wanted him and they didn't get him. And so that makes me think now that there's another defensive back that can't transfer back home. Could Oregon be a player there? So something to watch.
And isn't that where Jabbar Muhammad ended up going to Oregon?
Yep,
yeah.
playing
So
corner.
So he's a corner. And they'd be loading up, in terms of getting the prospect from Texas A&M and then Jabbar Muhammad. So good morning to everybody inside the comment box. We appreciate you guys being here. And if you're a fan funder, we really, appreciate you guys supporting the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. How do you do that? You go up to the top and you hit the hyperlink. T, do we have a hyperlink that is posted?
Yes, it is pinned right now, and I'll post it again.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. And then special thanks to residents in Ocean City, Maryland. Guests can book at residentsinoc.com. Use the promo code LPR for special Bama pricing up to 20% off, which is a exceptional deal. Wanted to add real quick, Ty. I didn't mean to hijack your segment, just, kind of warm up the show with you. But every day throughout these last, 10 days, Alabama's been posting some more photos and more articles about building their staff. But I love this photo that came in yesterday. This is of Yanze Pierre, a very talented prospect who's now a redshirt freshman at the University of Alabama. Ty, how excited are we to see like Yanze, Keon Keeley, Quay Russo, even Q Rob? Because while these guys didn't have a lot of opportunities last year, even Q Rob kind of coming back as one of the vets. This team definitely, has some edge rushers, guys who are playmakers. And, Yanze right here, looks the part, is the part. Can't wait to see another 5-star get his time when he's called on.
Yeah, and I've often said this. It's not going to be a secret. I think that edge group for Alabama may be the most talent-rich group, not in the SEC, in the entirety of college football. When you look at the blue chip 4-stars, the 5-stars, you have Keon Keeley, who was the number 2 player in the nation, the number 1 edge. Yanze Pierre was a 5-star. Now you go into this class, you have Noah Carter. You have, wherever this new staff puts, Jeremiah Alexander, like you said, Russo, Quindarius Robinson. It's ridiculous. And for someone like a Yanze Pierre and a Keon Keeley, at Alabama, you recruit so well so often, you kind of get spoiled. But for everybody asking, oh, well, why didn't we see them last year? Well, the answer is simple. It's because you had Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell, and there's not too many edges across college football that are going to start over either one of them. But sometimes sitting, learning, getting your body right, taking that year can be an incredible benefit. And now Alabama gets to roll out, like I said, what I believe to be the most talent-rich room in all of college football, and a new defense that will allow them to really maximize the stylistic differences they have on roster between these guys. I'm really excited for the looks and specifically out of this room.
100%. One last thing before I pop off, and again, I'll be back at 9 a.m. For my segment. But Josh, what's up? Posting here in the chat in the Undefeated. Josh, if you could become a fan funder, we'd appreciate you. But either way, thanks for being here. You can hit the hyperlink above this video to become a fan funder. But Josh is like, on threes, JD Kell has Alabama 5th in the SEC. 24/7 says Tennessee, Oklahoma, LSU have better chance to make it in the playoffs this year than Bama, saving these receipts. I love February because it's just we're talking about everything under the sun, right? It's like February, May, and June. Those are tough months to talk about whatever. But it's exciting to kind of see some of these analysts early look at the SEC. When I saw some of the odds that were released yesterday, I think what stands out to me, and I'm looking for that tweet that I actually retweeted, is it kind of shows
Bama
you the
was
depth.
third in that one,
right? And I think it shows you the depth overall of the SEC because it's so talent rich. I mean, you have Georgia at 2-1, Texas at 5-2, Ole Miss 13-2, Bama 9-1, Tennessee 9-1, LSU 20-1. And I think what that tells me is like the SEC is just like if you thought last year like the SEC was completely different in terms of talent than the other I think this year even more so, and they continue to kind of separate themselves. So I mean, Ole Miss, we know they're going to be good. They only lost 2 games last year, which was to Georgia and Alabama. We know that Georgia, they've won their last 30 out of 31 games. And they got their quarterback coming back. They're going to be good. Texas has their quarterback coming back. They got to fill a lot of components, but they're going to be good. There's Alabama, right? At 9-1. And I think you always want to kind of be laying in the weeds rather than kind of the target on your back, and it keeps you hungry. But I mean, you're going to talk about this around the SEC, I'm sure, at point number 3. Can't wait to see what you say because that's amazing. Oh, Caleb's getting married in 4 days.
4 days, my man.
No
Congratulations.
Wow, congratulations.
That's amazing, man. Good for you.
You want to know my favorite thing about it? You want to know my favorite thing about this, Caleb? You didn't do a fall wedding. Priorities.
Right?
Priorities.
The football
Thank
schedule.
you. Oh, man. That's a really nice photo, too. Looks like you guys might be out on the golf course, maybe. I don't know. But that's amazing. Where are you going to for your chores? Like poor Caleb. Where are you going to for your honeymoon, man? We hope you have a good time, man. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So I think that moment of silence.
Stop. Come on.
Caleb. There's 3. So when I got married, they told me that 3 little things would happen during the wedding that wouldn't go your way. Like just small little things, like a song wouldn't play, right? Or like the speaker would be messed up, and kind of to like roll with that and just kind of absorb it. That was absolutely true, 100%. So yeah, just don't worry about it, man. Focus on her and just enjoy it. Savor that moment. I think you're gonna have an amazing time. So congratulations to you. Ty, any advice for the wedding day?
You're always wrong. No, in all seriousness though, like we did our wedding and because my wife is a teacher and I do this, we didn't have a lot of time, right? Like we had to do a summer wedding, and we did a summer wedding in Texas in July, and I think it was like 108 degrees. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
you'll
that.
You'll be okay. It's all good.
Oh man,
Sure.
that sounds hot. Oh man, that's funny. All right, Ty, well, you have a good segment. I will catch you guys back at 9. I appreciate you guys. What's up, JT83? I see you inside the comment box. Thank you to everyone that's fan funder. Kevin, I see you guys as well. We'll do our thing at 9, and then we got Coach Smook at 10 a.m. right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Ty, have a great segment, and we'll catch up with you soon, guys.
Kyle, appreciate it so much. Getting an opportunity to start a segment off with Kyle, always a great time. You guys know anytime Kyle and I get to link up, I personally have a blast, and that's because I'm very appreciative. As always, before we dive into everything, you already know I have to give flowers where they're due. What Kyle has been able to do over here has been incredible, and him giving me a platform is just absolutely amazing. And I cannot thank him enough, and I cannot thank all of you in the Undefeated enough for making this possible. Without Kyle, without T, and without you in the Undefeated, this doesn't happen in its current capacity. It doesn't look the same, and because of that, I can't thank both parties enough. But looking towards the docket, as you can see, we've got some things to talk about. We need to talk about the NCAA being cooked after this injunction that just came down. I just had some time to really catch up with it today. I have some feelings about it. I'm excited in one sense, but very worried in the next. All right. And we're going to unpack that. Next, we're going to talk about some spring ball talk. Of course, spring ball right around the corner. We already began the conversation about Ionze Pierre and that edge room. We're going to expand upon that, where I'm excited, the whole 9 yards. And we need to talk about around the SEC. It's interesting because so many people have already come up here and said Bama is projected to go here in the SEC or here. And there was just someone in here saying that JD Piquel of On 3, by the way, shout out to JD. He and I have made content together in the past. Really great content creator, excellent person as well. He had Alabama 5th, had some teams like LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee above him. Well, ironically, we're going to be unpacking the Oklahoma Sooners today. There's someone who's on Alabama's schedule. I have a little bit of an in-depth look at Oklahoma because I make a fair amount of Oklahoma Sooners content. I know a lot of the content creators. I know people who cover the team. So we're going to unpack the Sooners today. We're going to start getting to know some of Alabama's opponents. And then we're also going to talk about some teams around the SEC. We will be talking about a Tennessee. We will be talking about an LSU and how they could fare for the SEC in relation to Alabama. And of course, you guys already know, you want something talked about, you drop it down there in the chat. We will hit it. It's a great Tuesday morning to be here. Let's kick it off. So the NCAA is cooked. What's new? I'm going to be up here chefing this up like Chef Boyardee, because when we look at the NCAA, they have inherently been problematic in terms of getting with the times. The NCAA does not move, they drag their feet. And this has been the case for years. It's the reason why I consistently bring up Alston v. NCAA, because I think it paints the beautiful picture that shows the NCAA wasn't even excited to do NIL until Justice Kavanaugh told them you have to, or else you are going to lose everything. Now, Justice Kavanaugh didn't explicitly say it, but those that know. Justice Kavanaugh went scorched earth on the NCAA and demanded a change. Well, the NCAA's version of change was NIL unleashed 10 days later. We've talked about this time and time again. NIL was put forth with no equal footing. States could do really whatever they wanted because the NCAA refused to really police it. Well, now we fast forward to where we are. And the NCAA, after this injunction was passed this last week, we're going to unpack that. The NCAA continues to frustrate me. Because instead of approaching a problem head on, being tenacious, they're passive. I did practice Chef Boyardee in the mirror this morning, Jor. I'm glad you noticed that. I'm glad I right in the mirror this morning 10 times, right? I had a little chef hat too, but I couldn't get it to stay on my head. I also thought it could be distracting. Neither here nor there. We'll get the chef hat figured out for a later date. Don't you worry about that. But the NCAA frustrated me again this weekend, when instead of approaching the problem head on with any tenacity, with any want to, with any sort of real ingenuity, something the NCAA has overtly lacked, they ask Congress to bail them out. Now, listen, I think there's an adverse reaction whenever you hear the NCAA asking Congress to bail you out. And I think if you are sitting there taken aback by that, it's deserved. Right? It's deserved. I do understand where the NCAA is coming from when they do that, though. As frustrated as I am that they're doing that, I understand why they're doing it. And I think that part of the reason I understand why they're doing it is I understand the NCAA and I understand their inaction. I understand their inability to see what's coming on the horizon. I've said this before. They lack the foresight that the good Lord above granted an apple. They don't have that foresight. If they did, we would have already circumvented this problem years ago. We would have figured this out. Instead, college football is in a precarious place, and I'm going to tell you why. I have long been the person that says, hey, there's a chance that the free market will correct itself. And I do agree with that. If you actually read the injunction, they're stripping away all regulations for these athletes to be able to value themselves in terms of being able to bargain one NIL deal as opposed to the other. NIL just had any guardrails ripped away because of this injunction. Now, even though I believe we are going to get to a solution, understand that it's going to get more chaotic before it gets better. You've heard the phrase time and time again, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Well, there's a world where that absolutely happens in college football. Because right now it's going to be an arms race. Oh, there are no rules around NIL. Let's get as many of these guys in the class as we can while we can. I'm interested to see how the coming month works, especially in March, especially if this continues to drag out, because the injunction is in place until this lawsuit is settled. And the NCAA has got to try and petition to get this in front of a higher court than the one that just issued the injunction to try and get a ruling in their favor if they are to try and move forward. But there's a reason why they're throwing a Hail Mary to Congress. Because like I said, they lack the foresight that the good Lord granted an apple. They've been sitting on their hands. It's part of the reason why, if you listen to my content, I always get a little bit frustrated when I see coaches just sit on their hands. It drives me up a wall. It drives me up a wall. And we've seen it too many times, right? Like we can take a look at a Dabo Swinney, right? And part of the reason why Dabo frustrates me is because he's a brilliant coach. The man is a brilliant football coach, but he's so averse to change that instead of embracing the current landscape and instead of being interested in dominating, he's interested in principalities. And while I can respect standing on principalities, you're also hired to do a job. That's to win. So you might not like your present circumstances, but are you going to decrease your winning capacity just to kind of fold your hands up and say, well, I don't like this? That's what the NCAA has done. It's part of the reason why whenever Alabama was in the coaching search, all of you in the undefeated, or some of you in the undefeated, would ask me, what do I think about Dabo? My answer was always the same. He is an unbelievable football coach. Unbelievable football coach. But Alabama needs someone who's not averse to change, because we are going through a period of college football that is ridden with more change than maybe any other period previously, right? Going from what was the BCS to the college football playoffs within a decade of that. Now we have an expanded playoffs. Before we've ever played a game of the expanded playoffs, they're trying to expand again. They're trying to rip apart the conferences. The Pac-12 is no more. It's the Pac-2. You don't know what the college football landscape is going to look like in 10 years in terms of the media rights negotiations. You don't know if the ACC will be around in 10 years. Suffice to say, there's so many questions, so much change on the horizon. You have to be able to roll with change. And the NCAA has proved unable to do so. So what do you need to be on the lookout going forward? Well, I'm going to be really interested in seeing the NCAA's next move. Right now, they're petitioning to Congress. Hey, come and save us. Well, unfortunately, NCAA, that's not going to be a winning strategy. Why? Because you're not popular. Why would either political party attach themselves to saving something that is wildly unpopular? They need to get elected. So you're extending an olive branch to Congress, hoping they help you, when you don't realize you have dug yourself so deep of a hole that it's not popular to get yourself out of the hole. And as much as the Republicans and Democrats are there to do a job, they also serve what's going to get them elected, right? That's just the nature of politics. That's not even a hot take. That's just the nature of politics. They're going to self-serve to some degree to get themselves elected. It's not an American principle. That's a political principle. That's a truth that you can find everywhere, right? That's not even a negative comment. That's just truth. Why would either party attach themselves to an archaic organization such as the NCAA that has shown zero ability to have any foresight, zero ability to have any ingenuity, any creativity, any solutions? I just think that they're barking up the wrong tree. I don't, as much as I understand why they're doing it, I understand the legal reasons why they're doing it, why they're trying to get Congress to act. I get why they're doing it. It frustrates me so much because you don't have to do it this way. You could have been the solution, and instead, you were the problem. So the NCAA right now, their best case scenario is to try and get this to a higher court. Hacker Music says Congress is as inept as the NCAA. That would be somebody that can't swim trying to save somebody drowning. Probably right. Yeah. Yeah. And you mix on top of that, why would the person, it'd be like if the bully who's stealing all the food, right? You're all trapped on an island for 100 days and someone is hoarding all the food and they're the elected official. And instead of rolling it out, instead of divvying the food, instead of creating some sort of structure so that you and everybody else stranded on this island can live, they hoard everything. That's the person who's out there drowning. Well, they haven't exactly made themselves the most favorable of individuals. So it doesn't make sense, right? Like Hacker Music, you hit the nail on the head, but even if you take this a step further, they don't have allies anywhere. Who's pro NCAA? And how is that going to be a powerful electorate tool? If you think about this even deeper, guys, and this is the last thing I'll really say on this as it relates to Congress, as the voting base, right? Like you have a natural turnover of voting bases, right? And so now you have so many more young people who are able to vote, who are politically inclined. You know that the young people don't like the NCAA. You know that even the older people understand that the NCAA's inaction is the reason why college football is hurt. It doesn't make sense for either party to extend the olive branch to the NCAA because no base is like, yay, pro NCAA. They have really put themselves in a position where they have to be the agents of change. Will they? I have very little faith. Shane, you ask, when I say a higher court, are you referring to the Supreme Court? I think that's where we'll end up, Shane, especially after Kavanaugh peeled back the onion of the NCAA, put the target on them, and then sent them out the door. That's essentially what happened in Alston v. NCAA. Justice Kavanaugh took the makeup off the pig, showed everybody what the pig was, and everybody already knew what the pig was, but it was the first time that you had real vulnerability at a judicial level for the NCAA. Remember, in 2018 and 2019, if I'm not mistaken, court cases came that stated that athletes were not employees. Well, now you move just a few years, 3 years, and you have a Supreme Court justice stating, hey, your antitrust structure, it's illegal. You cannot operate in a legal theory just off the theory that you don't have to pay people. That doesn't make sense. So he took the makeup off the pig, and then he sent the pig out with a target on its back. That's what it looked like to me. He was begging people to open up suit against the NCAA and their antitrust. Well, Tennessee got the message. Virginia got the message. The individuals in the House lawsuit, the individuals in the Johnson lawsuit, they got the message. By the way, both House and Johnson coming on your docket within the next year, 2025. We'll be on the lookout for that. Groundbreaking stuff around college football, ladies and gentlemen. Really interesting stuff. I'm not going to bore you any longer with the legal mumbo jumbo, but just know right now, the NCAA is advocating to Congress, and I think that that is a losing recipe. Congress is not going to be inclined to give the NCAA antitrust exemption because the NCAA has done nothing to help themselves, in my opinion, at least. I mean, let's be honest. We could hear tomorrow that Congress has granted NCAA antitrust exemption, and as surprised as I would be, it would also be like, well, it's Congress, so what are you going to do? Anyways, let's talk about spring ball. Because there's a lot of exciting topics here. I love how Kyle let us in this morning. Kyle has got a great ability to ask questions that have a lot more weight than they appear. And what I mean when I say that is his question, his conversation piece about Yonze Pierre, it really opens up dialogue. And as someone who's done a lot of public speaking, a lot of debate, a lot of moot court since I was in high school, anytime we can open up dialogue, you guys know I love that. There's a reason why every time y'all are like, Kai, why are you engaging with the trolls? It's because I can get dialogue out of it. I can get content out of it. Why wouldn't I? I love debating. So if you ask my wife, I'll take the opportunity to debate this lamppost right here. Right? It's just how it is. It's something I love to do. So, love how Kyle gave us the alley-oop this morning talking about Yonze Pierre, because that outside edge group is going to be a ton of fun to watch. And there's a lot of questions about the group. And understand, right? Whenever you hear questions, there's always a negative connotation whenever someone says, oh, I have questions about this. But inherently having questions about something isn't negative. It's just lacking information. That's not negative. It's just we know that Alabama maybe has the most talent-rich room in all of college football in that edge room. Remember, I've broken it down time and time again. You have more 5-stars than you can shake a stick at, more number 1, number 2, number 3 edges in their respective class than you can shake a stick at. You got blue chips, you got top 100, you got top 50, top 70. There is so much talent in that room. But there are questions. And what questions, you may ask? Well, like I just said, what is the known? That there is talent. What is the unknown? What's the pecking order going to be? What does it look like? What does it look like when it all comes together? That's what I mean when I say there are questions. Not all questions are bad. Now, if your first question is, do we have the talent? That's not a great question to start with. But luckily, Alabama doesn't have that question, in my opinion, at any position group on this roster. The talent is not a question. That's a bad question. Experience is a question. Experience is a question. Byron says questions about our corners. Listen, that's a question. Experience is a question, right? Kind of like it's ironic you said that at that time, Byron, because whenever you can break this down, once again, even with the defensive backs, I don't question the talent in the room. 3 5-stars coming in there, a bunch of blue chippers. Tony Mitchell was a 5-star at one point. Jaleel Hurley was a 5-star at one point. Damani Jackson was a top 5 player in the nation when it was all said and done by, I think, every recruiting service out there. Is Keon Sab? Hiccup there, excuse me. Keon Sab, rated as the number 3 transfer safety in the nation. Remember, Pro Football Focus rated Caleb Downs as an 85.7. Sab was an 82.7, right? Like right there. And didn't even have as many opportunities. Michigan had veteran safeties. Caleb Downs learned in the fire, and it was incredibly beneficial for him. So you're right, Byron. You're 100% right. There are questions at the secondary. There are questions at the offensive line. There are questions throughout this team. Some of those questions take different shapes, though, but there are questions in the secondary. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. I would argue that those questions are more on the side of good questions, like I just kind of said right there. I don't question the talent for the defensive backs. I don't question that. I think there's a lot of exciting names back there. A lot of them. You just don't have experience. That's a fair question, right? That's a fair play. But let's talk about where we expect Alabama to be better. And that's right. I just said it. Is there anywhere? This is a first great question to ask all of you in the undefeated. Is there anywhere where you think Alabama will be better in 2024 than they were in 2023? That's a great first question to ask all of you in the undefeated, because I have a few areas. And I know there are going to be other fans out there hear this soundbite and say Alabama fans are delusional. They're saying they're going to be better than in 2023. I'm not saying as a whole the team will be better in 2023. I think that it's understood that DeBoer needs a year, right? I think that's natural. It goes without saying. DeBoer needs at least a year to understand the landscape, understand all of that. Now, that being said, I think Alabama will be more successful than people even realize in year one. But I'm not claiming that they're going to be a better overall team in every aspect than in 2023, right? They were a play or two away from competing for a national championship. But there are areas where I think we'll be better. And I think you and the undefeated have keyed in on several of those areas, right? I think that you and the undefeated, first and foremost, this is why we call you the undefeated, because there's no getting anything by you. You've keyed in on several of the areas. The entire offense will be better. I think that the offense has the ability to be a lot better. Center, no doubt. K-Spray, good morning on this Tuesday morning. The entire offensive team will be better. I think that that's fair, right? When you look at this coaching staff, when you look at where their strengths lie, that the entire offense will be better. Can I give you all a position group? Shane says running back. I definitely don't disagree there. And that's not a knock at the running backs that Alabama had last year. Last year was just kind of, you had Jace get a little bit banged up. But man, if you guys know, I'm such a big Jace fan. I'm such a big Jace fan because that dude is a warrior, ladies and gentlemen. Jace McClellan would be banged up and he would put his head down and battle for the Tide. That guy is a warrior, a true warrior, man. Very excited to have been able to see Jace at Alabama and through high school. Y'all got to remember, I always ride for the guys from the North Texas area, right? Jace was from Alito. I was watching he and JoJo Earl in high school do dastardly things to high school teams. So I'm always going to be biased towards those North Texas guys, the guys that I got to either cover, to watch as I was just getting started in the industry. So I got a lot, but I do agree. I think that the running backs are going to be better because I think that the offensive scheme will be better. I hope that health, right? I hope that Alabama will have a bit better luck in the health department. And it's not like that they had terrible injuries at running back, but you get what I mean, right? Through the natural progression of the college football season. So we have a lot of people saying quarterback, wide receiver room. I definitely think the wide receiver room. Right? I definitely think the wide receiver room. The wide receiver room, Coach Shepard, I think is an unbelievable addition. We have Brian says the secondary will surprise us this season. Experience is a question, but talent will make up for the experience, I think. Especially in the latter portion of the season, Brian. I think that Texas game is a great kind of example of this. Against Texas and Steve Sarkisian schemed heavily against Caleb Downs, right? We already know what Steve Sarkisian wants to do. If I could summarize Steve Sarkisian's offense for all of you, it's creating assumptions that the defense is going to incorrectly assume. Right? That's the basis of Steve Sarkisian's offense. We want you to assume something and we're going to do something else. It's like I'm showing you this and then I hit you with the sleight of hand. They went after Caleb Downs hard in that game. Why? Lack of experience, not lack of talent. Lack of experience. That's it. Now, by the end of the season, a lot of that stuff wouldn't have been as successful. But whenever you have a brand new safety and you're trying to key in on him to get him to second guess, is it going to be a handoff or is this true play action and they're going over top? Right? That's just a young secondary growing. But Brian, I think you're 100% on this, my man. I think you're 100% on this. As the year progresses, the talent in that room, it's going to start showing. And that's where it's going to be a lot of fun. I 100% agree. 100% agree. Antoine says, I got an odd feeling that we'll be a lot better on the offensive line. Our interior experience will make it easier for whoever is at tackle. Antoine, I think that there is a principled argument that Alabama is going to have one of the most explosive interior threes in the country. Between Booker, Brailsford, and Roberts, with the new scheme and the new offensive line coach, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. AJ says, Coach KD says, whoever is at quarterback, which makes it seem that the position is open. If Jalen doesn't win the job, who do you think beats him out? I think Jalen would win the job, right? I think he would win the job. But I will say this, there's only one quarterback on the roster that knows the offense. The Monstars, 100%, Antoine. I love that. The Monstars. I love that. 100%. 100%. Don't sleep on Formby. Don't sleep on Olos. Don't listen. I love this Glenn. 100%. The talent is there on the offensive line. An offensive line is a position. I say this all the time. It is such a difficult position to go from high school to college. Think about it like this. You could be an offensive lineman coming to the SEC, playing for Alabama, but in high school on Friday night, you're blocking me because I go to some high school and they don't have any dominant edge guys. So I'm rushing the quarterback off the edge. Okay, well, if you have 150 pounds on me and you beat me at the line of scrimmage, congratulations. That's very well done. When you get to college, you're not blocking me. There's a baseline, at least in theory, there's a baseline athleticism in college. You might be trying to block someone who's been in a college strength and conditioning room for 4 years. With the current landscape of the NCAA, maybe 5 years. Who knows? Maybe it's Bo Nix's cousin who plays edge and he's on his 35th year of college football. I don't know. That's just where we are. No shot at Bo Nix. You had a great season. Just making a little bit of a joke. But that's the point, right? It's very difficult. So the offensive line, I'm never surprised when it's like the first year, it's a learning year. And then the second year, you see a massive jump up in terms of production, in terms of ability. That never surprises me. These guys need about a year to get their bodies right, to get acclimated to a college strength conditioning program, right? That's the offensive line. I've always felt like that. Always felt like that. I don't share the optimism about the offensive line as it stands now. Proctor had to play before he was ready because none of the other tackles were better. But I think this is perfectly fair, Kelly. I think it's very fair to have this position because the offensive line was not good last year. And so I think it's perfectly fair to have that position. But I also think that, like I just kind of said, a lot of the guys at tackle, if it wasn't going to be Proctor, if it wasn't going to be Pritchett, it was just a lot of young guys. And I do have to wonder how much maybe youth played into that. I'm hoping that it was as simple as youth, but I don't think you're misplaced at all. If we said, hey, I think that this area will be better and it's the offensive line, do you agree? If you said, I don't know, but I'm not as optimistic as you on the offensive line, I'd be like, that's fair. That's fair. But I do think that a year in the system for those young tackles is going to be a lot better. And I think that the offensive scheme is going to work better. So, and this is what I hope for, Antoine. This is what I hope for. And Caitlin, this is a great point because if we look back at quarterbacks who have graduated and continued playing, some of those guys have had massive jumps up in their production. All right. Some of those guys have massive jumps in their production. To me, Pritchett and Proctor were interchangeable, so it shouldn't be worse. I just hope it's better. I don't want it the same. I don't even want it the same. I saw someone earlier say that the inside linebacker was a room that they think could be better. I agree. Now, with the $10, Plumber saying, I hate that people keep hating on Milroe. People keep hyping up Mac. Only reason he was second string at Washington because the guy in front of him was hurt. So I think there's some truth to this, Plumber. No doubt about it. I think that Jalen Milroe right now, as I view it, is the guy that is the favorite to win the job, right? This is what I will say, though, Plumber, about Austin Mack. I don't know if that's the only reason he was second string. And the only reason I say that is because Josh Pate was talking about this dude whenever he first got to Washington, Austin Mack, saying that the Washington coaches were blown away at Austin Mack and that he was maybe their most impressive guy in camp. And this was when he reclassified. So he should have been a senior in high school. Now, that being said, if the question is if it's not going to be Milroe, who's it going to be? The only reason, Plumber, my answer is Austin Mack. If it's not going to be Milroe, who's it going to be? The only reason I went with Austin Mack, he's the only guy that knows the offense. He's the only guy that knows the offense. That being said, I think it's going to be Milroe. I absolutely agree. I think it's going to be Milroe. I think that Milroe is going to take a step forward. Plummer, one of the things that I don't like, people don't account for when it comes to Milroe, is that he didn't have the benefit of working with a brilliant quarterback coach. That's not something that Alabama, right? It wasn't there. Because of lack of quarterback depth. Because as soon as Penix left, they really just had Austin Mack. And there's no, in a Division I Power 5 college football room, you're not just going to be successful with one quarterback. Right? They just didn't have the quarterback depth, Plummer. So they needed to bring in another quarterback. And listen, that being said, it was going to be a competition. But that dude is really talented, Plummer. Thank you for the $5. Thank you for the $5. Now, listen, I don't disagree. I have Jalen Milroe as the favorite to start. I have Jalen Milroe as the favorite to start in this offense for this team. I think Jalen Milroe is going to take a massive jump up in his production, as everybody is pointing out. Now he's got a much better center. Parker Brailsford is graded as the highest returning center in all of college football. That's a huge win. He now has quarterback coaches that are going to be able to help develop him, something that he really didn't have before. I think Jalen Milroe is about to have a massive jump up in terms of his production. I really do. And I haven't shied away from this, right? That's not a new take from me. I have been beating the drum that I think Milroe is going to be the guy. I think it'll be a quarterback competition, sure, but I think Milroe is going to be the guy. I think he's going to have a major jump up in production. We saw him get better as the year went on last year. And yeah, well, here, Plummer, I do agree with you here, my man. Thank you for the donations. Thank you so much. Right? Thank you so much. He says, I think he's the future, just not now. This is where we do agree. This is where we 100% agree, Plummer. And understand, if you came in when I was talking about Mac, the question I was asked is, hey, Ty, let's say the starter isn't Jalen Milroe. Who will it be? That's where I think you may have heard me say, oh, we'll look to Austin Mack because he knows the offense. In that scenario, I was answering Milroe was taken out of the equation. But at the end of the day, I agree with this so much, right? I agree with this so much, Plummer. I think that Austin Mack will be an unbelievable quarterback for Alabama next year, right? Not this coming season. I think Jalen Milroe. I think it's Jalen Milroe's time. Very excited to see what he can do. And I say this all the time. I think everybody is looking at Jalen Milroe and they're like, oh, well, what happened against Michigan? An amalgamation of a lot of bad things happened against Michigan. And somehow Jalen Milroe gets the brunt of the blame. And I'm not quite sure why. I mean, I get it. You're the quarterback and that just is naturally how it kind of happens. But I'm not quite sure why he's blamed at the degree he's blamed. Whenever the center was all over the place, you had miscues. I mean, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. But I do agree. I think he's the future. I want Milroe to be there for a year. I want Mac to learn one more year, get acclimated to all these wide receivers, and then boom. Completely agree with that. I just hope that the new offensive line coach is really good. We have lots of elite players in most positions. Many have never even played per Nick Saban. Yeah, I mean, 100%. 100%. All right, let's all I care is about my wide receivers catching the playmakers making plays. 100%. 100%. I think Milroe is going to take a major step up. I think Milroe is going to take a major step up in his game. I think he's going to take a major step up. But Milroe still has 2 years of eligibility, Byron says. Yeah, Byron, but if he takes the step up that I think he's going to take, the NFL is calling. Right? Like, if he builds on the year he just had by getting better and showing people, like, no, I still have a ceiling and I'm still growing in this, the NFL will come calling. He has got an incredible skill set. For him to have the build that he has, to carry the weight that he does, with the athleticism that he does, the ability to tuck and run, and an arm. I mean, he hits deep shots at a really high rate. Like, really, really high. I think he was second in the nation behind only Daniels at deep shot accuracy, and they were like markedly above third place. Batman says Heisman. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, he's one of the guys that was the highest returning in terms of all of college football. He was a guy that got some play his way. So listen, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Jermaine Mims says, so we just going to assume Mac is better than Ty and Dylan, especially Dylan. Too much Mac hype. We didn't know this kid until 7. Well, I've known about him, Jermaine. But that's also, like I said, I cover college football at Hull. So I've known about Austin Mack. Right? Like, you talk to people around the game, they've known about Austin Mack. Dude is a hoss. Right? And like you heard Jake say the other day, had he not reclassified, he'd have been pushing for 5-star status. Had he not reclassified, he'd have been pushing for 5-star status, Jermaine. And that's from someone who is from the area. And he was a top 100 player after he reclassified. At the quarterback position, to reclassify and still be a top 100 player, that's pretty wild. But here's where I do agree, Jermaine. I think Dylan Lonergan is phenomenal. I think Ty Simpson is phenomenal. I think Alabama has got a loaded quarterback room. I think it's a great issue to have. You've got a lot of talented pieces in that quarterback room. A lot of talented pieces in that quarterback room. Ty and Lonergan were both ranked higher. Yeah, but that's because he reclassified. And let me see, because after he reclassified, he was still really highly ranked. Had he not reclassified, I think that maybe Ty would have been ranked higher, right? Because Ty was a 5-star, but he was number 73 in the nation after reclassifying. And Lonergan was number 159 in the nation. So no, Kelly, he was ranked higher than Dylan Lonergan. And that's after reclassifying. Plumber with the $5. Milroe with a good line and legit quarterback coach. Dude's going to be a problem. Lamar, I 100% agree with this. With a better offensive line, with a quarterback coach, with these quarterback coaches, oh yeah. That's why I'm so excited, Plumber. That's why I'm so excited for Jalen Milroe. I think now all the pieces are coming together. He started last year, had major moments last year, showed growth, and I think that's only the beginning of what he can do. Very excited for Jalen Milroe. But it's a great quarterback room. Like I said, you have Dylan Lonergan, who coming out of high school is ranked 159th in the nation per the 24/7 Sports Composite, the number 13 quarterback in the nation. You have Austin Mack now in the room, who coming in per the 24/7 Sports Composite after reclassifying, number 73 in the nation, top 10 quarterback in the nation, and the number 8 player in the state of California. So you have Ty Simpson, former 5-star, in that room, and you have Jalen Milroe. A lot of talent in the room, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of talent in the room. So very excited to see this quarterback and what the future of the quarterback position looks over the next 5-6 years. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's take some time and go around the SEC. All right, we talked about this earlier. Someone dropped a comment and they were saying teams like Oklahoma, someone had above Alabama, LSU. Well, we talked about LSU a little bit yesterday. And what you need to know about LSU is one of those teams where I'm always fine with you giving them the benefit of the doubt. They're the only major Division I Power 5 brand in their state. They don't have to compete with anybody else. They just have to compete with outside forces. That, at least at the beginning stages, can really help you in recruiting, right? It just is one of those things where if you're the only major brand in your state, it can really help try and keep kids home. Now, that being said, maybe they don't want to stay home. But LSU is interesting to me because they have to replace the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, that being said, I'm really high on Nuss. I think Nussmeier has got a lot of ability. But to me, ladies and gentlemen, it goes deeper than that. LSU has to replace coaches. They have to replace a quarterback. They have to replace their 2 unbelievable wide receivers. They have to replace a defensive staff. They have got to rework their defensive secondary that wasn't a top 50 unit in the nation. It'd be one thing if LSU's secondary last year was a middle of the pack secondary, right? Where it's just like, oh, well, you're not good. You're not terrible. You're like 50th, 60th in the nation. You're literally like a 50th percentile. No, they were like 110th or 115th in the nation. They have got a lot of work to do. So I understand if you're an analyst out there or you're someone and you're saying Alabama has questions. I think that's perfectly fine. I think that we can have discourse and a principled conversation about the questions around Alabama, but so too does LSU. LSU has questions. If you say Alabama has to replace their entire secondary, what do you think LSU has to do? Alabama secondary wasn't ranked 110th in the nation last year. Bama, yeah, they've got to replace the talent. They got a bunch of 5-stars in. And there's no way to know how that looks until the season gets here. But can't we ask the same question for LSU? I mean, they had to replace everything because it was so porous. And if you want to say, hey, we're going to give LSU the benefit of the doubt, I understand. I don't disagree there. LSU is one of those teams. So I have some questions about LSU. I do. I'm very excited, but I do have some questions about LSU going into the season. I think Bo Davis was an unbelievable hire. Getting him back on campus, huge for the Tigers. We're going to have to watch them further. Now, Oklahoma's interesting. Oklahoma's in a position where they have to replace their entire offensive line. They have to replace their offensive coordinator as Jeff Lebby moves from the offensive coordinator of the Oklahoma Sooners to now being the head coach of Mississippi State. They have to replace their defensive coordinator as Ted Roof steps down. For defensive coordinator, they look to the young Zach Alley. Very akin to Brent Venables' style of defense, and at the end of the day, it's one of those situations where they have a defensive-minded head coach in Brent Venables. They also have Todd Bates on staff. Unbelievable defensive front coach who has been able to affect change. But like LSU, Oklahoma is in a position where whenever Brent Venables got there, he had to completely redo the defense. Schematically, they had to redo everything at OU. So now they get to come to the SEC. We're going to see what that looks like. But if some analysts out there are saying, oh, well, we have questions about Bama, we don't have questions about OU, I would argue you're not paying attention. I cover OU. I think OU is a phenomenal addition to the SEC. I think that OU will adapt. They're going to have to adapt, but I think that they're a blue blood brand. And blue blood's blue blood for a reason, right? Like they just figure out a way to be successful. And OU, by and large, is a winning program. You look at how many wins they have in their history, they're amongst the most winning college football programs there is. So they will find a way to be successful. That's just what they do. But for anybody looking at Alabama and saying, I have questions, and I don't disagree with the questions, but looking at Oklahoma and saying, I don't have questions, I don't think they're paying attention. OU has to replace their entire offensive line. They have to replace a quarterback. Dylan Gabriel transfers from Oklahoma to Oregon. Now, that being said, Oklahoma's in a position where Jackson Arnold is their former 5-star, Gatorade Player of the Year, Elite 11 MVP, played in the game against Arizona, had an up-and-down performance. He's young. He's got upside, but he's young. But OU has to replace a lot. And that's why I think that the conversation is so interesting. It's interesting to see people so confidently saying, I have questions about Alabama, but I don't have questions about, saying LSU, even though they have to replace the Heisman Trophy winner. They have to replace those wide receivers. They have to do a defensive rebuild from a terrible defense to a defense that is going to be better. Michigan, Bama, and I believe Oklahoma are the 3 most winning programs in history, Caitlin. I believe it's those 3. And I know Ohio State is in there very much well. But yeah, right. Like it's this general principle of teams that are historically good. I just have this theory that they are going to figure out a way to be good. So I just think that whenever we look at Oklahoma, they have questions as well. I have a lot of questions about Oklahoma. How are you going to go from the offensive coordinator you had and Jeff Lebby, who now is a head coach, to Seth Luttrell? What's Seth Luttrell's history? Well, he was the former head coach of the University of North Texas, right? So, OSU is third, EJ, they said? Yeah, I knew it was Ohio State and like Oklahoma up there. I know the top 5 list is third. Yep. Well, I'm getting conflicting information. We have Caitlin saying OU is third and EJ saying OSU is third. I think it's, I don't know. I know that the top 5 is like Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, OU, and I forget the 5th. Adam Garcia says Michigan had yeah, no doubt. We had top tier, of course. 100%, Caitlin, 100%. 100%. So when we look around the SEC, I understand places have conversation or questions about Alabama. But I think there are questions about a lot of the teams in the SEC. And I think that makes the SEC a lot of fun this year. You have questions about Florida. You have questions about South Carolina. You have questions about LSU. You have questions about Oklahoma. You have questions about Mississippi State. Got a lot of questions. I have questions about Tennessee. So, right, whenever you look at this, there's a lot of questions around the SEC. If we look at Tennessee, they're a system that relies on quarterback play. And I think Nicholas Iamaleava is a fantastic quarterback. But it's going to be his first year being the starter. Ronnie, I just cover college football, my man. I'm an Alabama fan. My channel started with Alabama content, and then I moved into college football as a whole content. So no, I don't know. I do OU content, but I also do Texas content. I do some Florida content. I do Alabama content. I do Miami content. I do Colorado content, USC content. I do college football content. Right. Now I'm located in North Texas, so I have a bit more insight into Texas and Oklahoma as opposed to teams not named Alabama. So that's probably like the number 2 and 3 teams I do is Texas and Alabama, or Texas and Oklahoma outside of Alabama. But that's why I have kind of an in-depth view as to what Oklahoma is going to be looking like. It's because I do cover college football, and I've covered Oklahoma. They and Texas were the 2 teams. 2 teams I've covered. Oh no, for sure, Ronnie, for sure. I was just letting you know, like I bleed crimson over here, and not the OU crimson. It's the Bama crimson through and through, my man, through and through. So I understand. I get it whenever some of these analysts are like, Alabama has questions. I think where I start disagreeing with them is I have questions about Tennessee. I have questions about all these other teams. I don't think that it's completely genuine to not have questions about those other teams. Right? You look at the situation, there is a lot of talking points in the SEC. My man, Ronnie. Wouldn't football? No, Bama football on YouTube would absolutely kill it no matter what, Jared. No doubt about that. If we still looking for an O-line coach, no, we have an O-line coach, Bruce. Chris Kapilovic. Dino, my man, how are you? What teams don't have questions? The list of teams that don't have questions are far less than the list of teams that do have questions. All right, far less than the list of teams that. So when you talk about teams that don't have questions in the SEC, I probably have the fewest questions on Georgia. Right, I have the fewest questions on Georgia. They return their quarterback. They return some key pieces. They've recruited really well. They have some coaching turnover, which does create some natural questions. Oh, Kyle, who would you probably have the less question or the second least questions on? Maybe Ole Miss.
In terms of questions for the SEC, what's up, fam?
Yeah.
Um,
Questions for the SEC.
like most question marks. I mean, when I look to the SEC, I'm kind of I know what to expect from like a team like Texas, but I think because they're on Alabama's schedule this year, like what's going on with Oklahoma and what is their trajectory entering the SEC?
That's
an
why I
interesting
broke
one
them
for me.
down today.
Yeah. Oh, did you? I didn't even know that. I just literally I have a picture of what I was doing 5 minutes, like literally 3 minutes before I sat down on my desk. Kayden just stopped in. I made him a breakfast sandwich. Like I'm just sitting there and he's like, can I get a sandwich? So I made him a breakfast sandwich in about 3 minutes. I had T take a picture because it was like this breakfast sandwich, like emergency breakfast sandwich. I think that Oklahoma under Brett Venables, because I do like him. I did like him as a defensive coach. I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. What did you say? What are we looking at for quarterback for Oklahoma right now?
So Oklahoma is going to be rolling out Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold went to Denton Guyer High School, a hop, skip, and a jump from where I'm currently sitting. He won Elite 11 MVP, Gatorade High School Football Player of the Year. I think he stands 6'2", about 215 pounds. And his senior year at Denton Guyer, I was covering a game of them. He was clocked at 21.8 miles per hour whenever he took off. So he's an athletic dude. He's got some athleticism to him. He's going to be an interesting player. Now, the thing is, Kyle, they have to replace their entire offensive line. Andrew Rame is no longer going to be there. They have Guyton going to the draft. Guyton is interesting because he came to Oklahoma as a defensive tackle from TCU, and now he's probably going to be a first-round right tackle. Bill Bedenbaugh's development is unreal, but they have a lot of questions. Like they have on defense, I don't have as many questions. They returned Danny Stutzman. They returned Billy Bowman, two guys that could have gone to the NFL draft and been drafted decently high. They have to continue redoing their defensive front, but the linebacking core should continue taking steps up. But the offense, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line, new quarterback. There are questions. There are questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with kind of the top teams, I'm going to talk about on my segment, the top teams, odds on favorites to win the SEC. And I think when you look at, the top end, I mean, man, there's the quality of teams in the SEC is just unreal. I mean, you look at Oklahoma right now, 50-1, but it's going to be challenging for Alabama to go to Norman, especially with the quick turnaround to play Auburn, right? That's on the back end of Alabama's schedule. You also play Tennessee, who's a 9-1 favorite to win as well. Don't play Mississippi this year. Don't play Texas this year. But you do play Georgia, who is picked to win the SEC. And I can't wait to get to SEC Media Days to get a chance to talk to a lot of these coaches about how the SEC has kind of set themselves apart in college football, in my opinion. And I think it's clear. Now, I think a lot of them will say coach speak, but they won't be saying coach speak come playoff time because it can be, how many teams can get in from the SEC tie, right? Like you have your large bids and then it could be the rest could be SEC teams, right? That's the way I'm reading the playoffs.
Yeah, 100%. And it was Caleb. We just started going into it. He asked something about Oklahoma, and I was just telling him I broke him down today. No, I don't think Oklahoma is one of the teams with the least questions. I think they're a team with a healthy amount of questions. I think that they have talent. Venables has recruited really well. Oklahoma, Bama, and Texas are the only three teams that for 2 years in a row was top 10 recruiting and top 10 transfer portal acquisitions.
Yeah.
So they've been able to do it at a high level. Kyle, before I get out of here, to answer your question, though, in terms of how the SEC has positioned themselves, right?
Yeah.
And Brian, I completely agree. Brian says, Kyle and Ty, I think we are up to the challenge. I think we are more than up to the challenge. The questions Alabama has are good questions. Talent is there. Coaches are there. It's time to rock and roll. But Kyle, more specifically, how many top 10 brands in college football are located in the SEC?
Yeah.
Like your top 10, Bama, Texas, OU, Georgia, LSU, Florida. Are we going to throw like where do you
I
go
mean,
from there?
Florida might be, kind of fleeting out of that, but I get what you're saying.
True.
I mean, those are some major brands in college football, period. So I think that the SEC is just it's top heavy. There's a lot of teams that are going to compete. I mean, it's going to be challenging what I'm looking forward to this year is the challenges for all of these teams schedule wise, because I think last year, for the most part, some of these teams, like some of them had challenging schedules. This year, everybody's schedule is very difficult, even Georgia's as well. Like they have a good schedule. Last year, kind of sleepy there to the back end till they went in that 3-game stretch. But and we've talked about this many times. Like Florida's schedule is crazy. The back end of their schedule, and I kind of think that would be the demise of Billy Napier. I don't know Billy Napier personally, but I know he's under the Nick Saban ecosystem, and he had an opportunity and still does to coach up the Florida Gators. I'm surprised that Florida hasn't been able to win more games over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, whatever. Whenever Alabama and Florida played in the SEC title, right? Because after that, they've really transcended in the wrong direction, whereas Alabama has really stayed up at the top. And who was that? Dan Mullen, who was the coach of the SEC, right?
Yeah, and I think unfortunately for Billy, one, he started his rebuild later than normal, right? Billy Napier took the job, coached a year at Florida, and then scrubbed the roster. So started the rebuild a year after he got there. But to your point, Kyle, Florida was, in a good position. And then I'll never forget Dan Mullen saying on national TV, they asked him about a recruit. And he said, I'll worry about recruiting when the season is over. And that's when I knew. I was like, buddy, you just signed you're fired. You can't say that in the SEC. You're Florida. What are you taught? And so I don't think he recruited really well. And that really put Florida on the back foot. And now they have just been getting berated. Absolutely berated. But Kyle, I don't want to take up anymore. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think someone inside the chat said that Georgia has an easy schedule. What's up, Ronnie? I see you. I don't know if I agree with that. I think, Clemson, they'll certainly be the favorites in that game. They're playing at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the opening. I don't think Clemson is the Clemson that they once were, but they're still going to be tough. Georgia wins that game. Then they have Tennessee Tech. At Kentucky. They beat the Braves off Kentucky last year, so they're 3-0 at this point. They go to Tuscaloosa. That's going to be very challenging, right? You look at the success that Alabama has had against Georgia. You look at the fact that it's in Tuscaloosa against Kaylen DeBoer, who will have his first chance to showcase his ability in the SEC. And you play Auburn. As Kirby Smart said, doesn't matter when you play Auburn. Like, that's just, they're tough. Like Hugh Freeze, no matter if they're 50-1, like, it's tough. Like the good news is that game's in Sanford Stadium. Mississippi State, you play them. Then you go to Texas. So you're going to Alabama and Texas in the same season. Plus, you also go to Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they have 13-2 odds to win the whole thing or to win the SEC title. Then you play Tennessee. So and then the back end a little soft until you get to wherever things stand. But I don't know. That's a pretty challenging schedule. Ole Miss, Bama, Texas. Right? That's a healthy schedule for sure.
Especially not only in terms of quality of competition, but then when we start unpacking schematics, like how do you find success against a Kirby Smart defense? You have to be able to stretch the defense.
For sure.
What is Texas going to want to do? They're going to want to stretch the defense. What is Kaylen DeBoer going to want to do? Stretch the defense. So even
Tennessee.
Tennessee, great one. Tennessee, stretch. It's going to be a tough season, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, good segment, Ty. Appreciate you popping in at 8 a.m. For the morning spot. And, we always enjoy your segment. I know the Undefeated certainly loves having you on. So do we. So definitely follow Ty at Around the Table Sports. It has a really great YouTube channel. Very popular content creator here, there, really everywhere. So follow Ty and great segment, Ty. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate the opportunity as always. And Caitlin, I like that you said almost feel bad for Florida. I don't feel bad for Florida. Kyle, as always, my man, thank you so much for the opportunity. You guys give all of your love to Kyle. As I say every time, this isn't possible without Kyle, without T, and without all of you in the undefeated. So thank you so much. And I will see you tomorrow, my man.
All right, man. Take it easy, man. Appreciate you. All right. Ty Hayes does a great job right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys right here. Bama Football on YouTube. My name is Kyle Henderson. Bama Football on YouTube. Let's do a quick stream transition, and we'll get popping right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Want to say thanks to our sponsor, Residence Inn out in Ocean City, Maryland. I appreciate them so much. Guests can book at residenceinnoc.com. Use the promo code LPR for special Bama football pricing up to 20% off. We appreciate those of you in the undefeated getting that undefeated merch. You can get a link at the top of this video. We appreciate everybody. We need to update this, but if you want to become a fan funder of Bama Football on YouTube, run up to the top of this page and hit the hyperlink. For just $2.99 per month, you can support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Just like literally 2 minutes before I popped on this show, I was down here making some quick breakfast for my son. Here's Andre the Giant and the 3 dogs. So I cooked him up a nice little breakfast sandwich here, and we got popping. So, but here we are. So I appreciate you guys being here, running the thumbs up right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Got the good workout in this morning as well. And it was ultra challenging. Honestly, I think that the young man who led it, which was cool, he was only 21 years old. And so if you're familiar with Tuscaloosa, what we did is we went to Hotel Indigo. That's where we started. And we ran from Hotel Indigo up to the Embassy Suites. I'm still tired. 9 times. And in between, like once we got to the top, we did 22 push-ups because he's going to be 22. And then we got to the bottom, we did 28 sit-ups. And we call them big boy sit-ups. So it's like all the way up. And then we'd run up the hill, like no brakes. So all gas, no brakes. And it was the young guys down at the Warrior today. There was guys who were like 22, 21. Man, so it was it was something else. The workout was tough. But anyway, so my topics here today, Bo Jackson, odds to win the SEC, Ty Simpson footage, NFL Combine. And then I had spring questions in there, T, if you could add that as well. And we'll see where we are in terms of calls or whatever. But I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much to all our fan funders. We'll run through our fan funders list real quick. I know a lot of people have renewed their accounts, and you have to renew if you were gifted a membership, or if you just joined organically. Hit the hyperlink above this video, as low as $2.99 to support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. What's up, Big 61? I appreciate you. Became a member. Donald, man, what's up? I appreciate you as well. Randall Green became a YouTube member as well. Jamer, what's up, man? Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Same thing with Wendy. Thank you so much, Wendy. I think didn't Wendy T say what's up?
Hello, undefeated.
Yeah. Didn't Wendy win? Did Wendy win? I don't know.
I don't think Wendy has a giveaway.
Okay. All right. Avery, what's up? See you inside the comment box. Beth James, thank you very much. Kevin as well, checking in. Bobby M and Henry. What's up? What's up? Henry Bailey sounds like very official.
It's like a Southern name, I feel like.
Henry Bailey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, me too. HB. All right. Henry Bailey. Those are all our fan funders who joined recently. We appreciate you guys very much. I started this question earlier on in the show, and I want to talk about odds to win the SEC. And of course, Bo Jackson, the running back that Alabama offered yesterday, which is dope because Bo Jackson, one of the best ever. Oh, I already have a poll question for today. Who is the best? All right, and I'm going to need your help, Undefeated, before I start talking about Josh Upton's comments, okay? Who is the best? I need 4 of them. Multi-sport athlete. Got Bo Jackson, football, baseball. Let's add Deion Sanders, football, baseball. Who else are we adding to this? Right? I know Michael Jordan played baseball and basketball. But I'm talking like the best. Who else we got undefeated? I'm talking about an athlete who played 2 sports, at the highest level. I don't think Jordan ever got to the pros in baseball. I think he was down here in Birmingham. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's at the Barons, right?
And he played golf too. He was a big golfer.
Oh, damn, he was it. Yeah, I mean, he never was made it to pros. But,
no, but so we're saying best multi-sport pro athlete.
Yeah.
Or like even amateur, because I think Michael Jordan was amateur baseball, right?
No. He played like in the AAA, whatever the Barons are. Are they double A or AAA? Whatever.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, okay, put Michael Jordan on there as well.
Okay.
Bo did track. What did Babe Ruth? What other sport did Babe?
Yeah,
Babe,
what did he play?
What did the Babe do? Yeah. And yeah, so continue to talk about that. Tim Tebow, Michael Jordan should not be. I kind of agree. I don't think that Michael Jordan, he's the greatest basketball player, right? But like in terms of like multi-sport, what Bo Jackson did, honestly, for Kansas City Royals and for the Raiders was crazy.
Oh, John Elway.
Oh, he was baseball, and because he was baseball.
How about how Deion Sanders spells his name?
Deion Sanders was amazing. I mean, because he was like all baseball, and then he was, for the Braves and for the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Trying to throw me for a loop there.
All right, so a lot of you, so continue to chew on that inside the comment box. I appreciate you guys. But wouldn't it be amazing if Alabama was to get Bo Jackson? Like that would be amazing. Okay, so Bo Jackson is a class of 2025 prospect that was offered yesterday by this coaching staff. He's out of Ohio. I want to show his highlights real quick because he was absolutely fire. And then I'm going to talk about the SEC in this question below, but by Josh. So these are my opening topics. But this guy, Josh, give me 1 second. I want to answer that about the SEC. But this young man, Bo Jackson, to be honest, I hadn't even seen or like heard of him. I didn't even know there was another Bo Jackson floating out there. I absolutely love it. And then when I watch his highlight tapes, number one, his name just screams like search engine optimization, like Bo Jackson's highlights. Are you kidding me? And then when I watched him like actually compete on the field, I was blown away. So what you're going to be watching is Bo Jackson, class of 2025 prospect, who Alabama offered yesterday. Here are his highlights, and they're ultra impressive. I think that when you look to a player that has speed, power, I think he's 200 pounds. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, state of Ohio. Like, check these highlights out, fam. I'm telling you. Like, these are the top. What's been amazing to see, look at that field vision. Damn. He's impressive. Are we impressed, fam? Thumbs up if you're impressed with Bo Jackson inside the comment box. Okay. Here he is. Look at these baby blue jerseys that they have here. All right. Follow Wizard block. Gets to the outside. He's at the 50. He's at the 40. Nobody's going to catch him. Bo Jackson has done it again. I love it. Yeah, these highlights are damn impressive. Look at this. What I like is he gets up the field quick. That's what you want with a running back, right? A running back who doesn't dance around in the backfield. A running back who can do his job north and south and pick up yards. That's why I always like Jahmyr Gibbs. So Bo Jackson doing, wow, look at the beautiful sunset. Here he is to the far left of your screen. You have the camera panning. It reminds me of when we did the plane landing with Kaylen DeBoer, right? That's when everything started. Yeah, north and south. Here he is. It looks like we got field level. So he breaks a tackle. It's going to make number 25. I knew he's going to make the safety.
Wow. God, he's fast.
I know. You can't catch him. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite clips from this tape, right? So here he is on the wheel route. You see him up top. He's going to be hitting the 40. Look at that throw, number one. Catches at the 50, and then he takes off. So a running back that can clearly has field vision, north and south. Love what he's bringing to the table. And, we'll see. Who knows? I think that he's going to have a ton of offers on the table. But, yeah, Bo Jackson, love the name and love his highlights. Damn, he's super impressive out of the class of 2025. So if you're just here, my name is Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys supporting Ty Hayes from Around the Table Sports. We'll get to I want to talk about this. Josh Upton said on threes, JD Piquel, who we love. And honestly, I don't have like bad blood with any of those guys. Sometimes people were like, aren't you like adversarial towards like On3 or like, the Bama Online guys or like the next round? No, like 1,000,000% no. I really value like those content creators and the work that they put in. There's something that it's called, this is going to throw people for a wild loop, but it's called the mudita, right? And it's what you practice. You're like happy for other people doing well in their craft, right? So like JD Bukel right here doing a great job for On3. Love to see the kid shine. Same thing with Josh Pate. Like Josh Pate, like that guy honestly just manifested what he's doing, and he continues to crush it, setting the bar for all of college football content creators, right? So Josh Upton says, On3's JD Bukel has Bama 5th in the SEC. 24/7 says Tennessee, Oklahoma, LSU have better chance to make it to the playoffs this year than Bama, saving these receipts. 100%. I think we all should. It's going to be amazing to watch college football this season because of the talent for all of the teams. But I think the schedule is going to be very daunting for everybody. And we talked about that a little bit with Ty. But when you look at this overlay right here, this is the SEC Conference Championship. Teams who are favored to win this by betonline_AG. You have Georgia at 2-1. You have Texas at 5-2. You have Mississippi at 13-2. That's Ole Miss. Alabama at 9-1. Tennessee at 9-1. LSU at 20-1. And Missouri at 11-1. And then Texas A&M with their new head football coach at 22-1. What this tells me is that the SEC is open for grabs. I think that it's very top heavy. All of these teams are going to be in the mix. Most of these teams play each other. I mean, look at who Alabama plays just from this top one, right? They play Georgia. They play Tennessee. They play LSU. They play Missouri. And they play Auburn. And then if you minimize Josh's comment on here, you see that they play Auburn, Oklahoma. And do they play South Carolina too? Whatever the case is, like the SEC is going to be a gauntlet to win. And remember, fam, like this year, there's no more like East and West. It's just who is the top 1 and 2 teams. Don't you think that's going to be amazing to see just who the number 1 and the number 2 team are in the SEC?
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, that is going to make it so like even more competitive, I think. And I think that, I can't wait to see kind of when the dust is settled, which teams can survive these gauntlets that they're approached with. I do like Alabama's schedule. I think it is very challenging. I think the front half of the schedule is a little bit easier than the back end. And clearly the game against Georgia is the most challenging game overall in the schedule. And I don't think, and I've talked about this many times, I think that game against Georgia comes at the perfect time because if you win or you lose, I starred him. I'm not sure where those comments were from, but it starred. I think even if you win or lose, it's going to work out well for Alabama. And here's why. I think if Alabama beats Georgia, right, it's the first game that Coach Kaylen DeBoer will play against the SEC opponent. Wild, right? If you win that game, you carry over so much momentum throughout the rest of the season. And I don't think, you don't peak too early, but you understand that, look, I'm here and the fan base will you want to see the fan base fully embrace Coach Kaylen DeBoer? Win that Georgia game, 100%. I think if they lose that game, it'll be an early season punch to the mouth. And fans will be upset and people will be questioning probably Coach Kaylen DeBoer's ability. But it's going to be way too early. Like, this is going to be a gauntlet of a season. And I think what that could do, like the team could do one or two things, is they come together and they build up their cohesiveness and they get ready for that back end that's ultra challenging. Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Oklahoma, and they learn to fight. But I think that this team will already have a lot of togetherness because of the adversity that they've already gone through. You lost your coach. You lost many coaches. You lost many players to the transfer portal. There will probably be even more players that leave to the transfer portal as well. So you've overcome all that to get to that point in time, and I think that they'll be fine. So the SEC is going to be wild. I think the SEC is built different than the other conferences. I know that the Big 10 is loading up as well, but not like the SEC. Adding Texas and Oklahoma definitely added value. But overall, I mean, you look at the caliber of coaches, right? You show this list again. I mean, let's go over some of the coaches that have been added, or that are coaching in the SEC. Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, Kaylen DeBoer. Like, you see what I'm saying? Josh Heupel, don't sleep on him. Brian Kelly, Eli Drinkwitz, right? Mike Elko from Texas A&M, Hugh Freeze, Brett Venables. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, like, damn, those are some damn good coaches. Best coaches in college football. They're right here. What's up, Roan? Good morning. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being here. I agree with you, Todd. Folks, may as well recognize it's going to be bumps in the road to start the season. Getting everything down and gelled takes time. 1 million. Yeah. Sometimes you say 100. This is like 1 million. And I think you have to be you don't have to change your expectations with this team. You don't have to change your expectations like, Coach Kaylen DeBoer is not going to win a national title or can't compete for SEC title. No. Like, keep your expectations high. Never go down. Like when you are a brand like Alabama football, there's no top 10. No. Like, you are like, the goal this year is to win a national championship. There's no pyramid. I don't know what the pyramid looks like. I haven't been to the facility since Coach Kaylen DeBoer has taken over, but I promise you they didn't tear down the pyramid and say, look, our goal is to win over 8 games. No, your goal is to win the championship game by game. And you don't want to think about, week 4, whatever, like, it's game by game, but ultimately, like, you're trying to win the ship. Like, right? You play to win the game. Yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about this. Luke is saying a 10-2 season. Todd, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for backing me up in here. Caitlin, what's up? Good morning to you. Rowan, Kareem Hood. I love saying Kareem Hood. Makes me feel good. I don't know why, but I like it. Jeff Horn, what's up, man? Tink coming to us from Orlando. Caleb, thanks for the email, man. Javion, good morning to you. I appreciate you. Tim, what's up? Everybody inside chat. Rich News and Sports, what's up, man? I see you as well. T, on the topics, could you put spring questions, please, if you get a chance? Can you maybe just move it to the top? Thank you so much. Okay, appreciate you. You see this footage come in yesterday of Ty Simpson. His father is the football coach at UT Martin, and Coach Smook and I did a video talking about the quarterbacks yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Tell us what you think. Lead off with Jalen Milroe, and then we talk about Ty Simpson, Dylan Lonergan, and Austin Mack, and how each of those quarterbacks will fit into the system, what they're bringing to the table. The thing about Ty Simpson is, I think everybody was curious to see if after the season, if he would enter the transfer portal.
But he's so averse to change.
Let's see. I guess I think I might have some footage without the audio. I'll bring it on another time. I guess there's no way for me to minimize the audio. But what I was getting at is he's always looked the part. And I think when he's had opportunities, he's made the most of those opportunities. I know a lot of you feel that there's going to be a quarterback battle after spring. I have no idea. I can't tell the future. But what I do know right now is you have 4 quality quarterbacks. I'm going to throw Austin Mack in there. I haven't seen him here at the University of Alabama, but looks like the unit. So I think I'd be shortchanging him if I just said 3 quarterbacks and not mention him. That's not leaving anybody out. It's just, I think he's going to be good. Otherwise, why would the coaches be so high on him? But specifically staying on Ty Simpson, he's looked the part, right? What did he do against South Florida? He was able to win that game, right? He was given the keys. He had to go finish it out, and he won that game. You look to what he did against Kentucky in that small window of time. He did really well. He has a lot of athleticism. I think people forget about the fact that he's an athlete. If you go back and watch his high school highlights, excuse me, he can move around really nicely. He has a really good escapability about him. And I think he has a strong arm. You look to the opportunities that he had in the A-Day from last season, he was on point. He had a really good showing. I think he even had like a 45-yard touchdown run or whatever. So we can't forget about Ty Simpson. And the footage that his father posted, he was right on the money. He's very accurate. And of course, he's literally just throwing to a receiver that's downfield. There's no, offensive line or defense, whatever. He throws a good ball. I like his overall mechanics. We talked about the quarterbacks as a group yesterday, and clearly it starts with Jalen Milroe. I keep on going back to kind of this quote that Coach Kaylen DeBoer had about the offense. And this was from an interview with Ryan Fowler. And I mentioned this on the video as well. But he says, we'll just adjust to whoever the quarterback is. So clearly what he's saying is that Alabama does not have a starting quarterback as of today. That's what that tells me. Certainly someone who can deliver the football. What I hope we can be is a team that can deliver the ball to our skill position players. You look at the different skill sets we have, everyone looks at Jalen Milroe. He can run the football, and that is an added weapon. So clearly, I think the position is open from that quote, but it's not like somebody else, in my opinion, is going to be taking the first team reps. I mean, if I put up a poll right now and said, who will be taking the first team reps out of the quarterbacks, it would be 99% Jalen Milroe. It's not even worth running the poll. But we have asked you in the past, do you feel that there's going to be a quarterback battle after spring football? And I think the large majority has said yes, right, T?
Yeah, I think it was like 60 something percent said yes.
It'd be nice to keep track of those polls.
Okay.
Like the results. I don't know. It's like one more thing to do. But point is, like the footage that Ty Simpson's father put out yesterday, haven't seen too much about Dylan Lonergan. I mean, we haven't seen too much from Jalen Milroe either, other than like he was at the quarterback. He held his youth camp. But Dylan Lonergan is a guy that we should certainly keep tabs on. I mean, he may very well end up being the guy at some point in time. I don't know if this season or next season or whatever, but he's got all the components to certainly be the guy. And then Austin Mack, haven't seen him compete at this level, but 6'6". I mean, Jalen Milroe is a big dude, right? He dwarfed all those dudes. Remember that family photo from the beginning of the season? He's gigantic. So we're continuing our spring positional previews, and we've just posted quarterbacks yesterday. So definitely go watch that video. We kind of go into the quarterbacks. We have footage of the quarterbacks as well, and appreciate you guys checking that out. The NFL Combine is somewhat getting started. You have like kind of check-ins and whatnot happening. The first actual footage of the Combine will be Wednesday. That's tomorrow, February 28th, where you have the defensive line, and you'll have Chris Braz, Dallas Turner, and Justin Ebogbe. The players that were invited to the Combine for Alabama: Terran Arnold, Chris Braswell, Jermaine Burton, Justin Ebogbe, Jalen Key, J.C. Latham, Jace McClellan, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Will Riker, Dallas Turner. I don't know what a kicker would do at a Combine other than, I guess, like just kick, right? I mean, and do interviews and stuff. If you ever had a chance to listen to Will Riker, like, he's excellent. He would flourish. So maybe that's, and I'm praying that the 49ers somehow find a way to pick up Will Riker. I just don't like the kicker that the 49ers have.
Not very consistent, right?
Nah, I mean, nothing that he even did against, like, in the Super Bowl. I don't feel confident about him. And that's why I think when kind of almost like segueing into spring questions is you look to the next kicker at Alabama. Like, let me ask you, T, for the most part, and everybody in the chat as well, undefeated, did you guys have any sort of anxiety when Will Riker stepped up to kick a field goal? Did you?
No. Every time he came on the field, like, it was unexpected.
There's always a little bit of anxiety when a field goal kicker comes up. But, like, that's just part of the game. But
not with anything around him personally.
Not really. Yeah, you're just like, nah, okay, all right, we got in the bag, 3 points on the board. Like, hey, good drive, let's play good defense. But in the past, before Will Reichert, can you rewind to that Tua season or behind that? Like kickers, you had a lot of anxiety. There was a time, honestly, where you couldn't even because you would tweet out like the final, like 21 Alabama now is 21-14 or whatever. You couldn't even type that out because you weren't even sure that the kicker would kick the PAT correctly.
Right. Yeah.
But the only place that I saw the start of consistency from special teams was J.K. Scott. He was like money in the bag in terms of punting. But Alabama, for whatever the reason, they've always had this issue with kicking. So when you look to spring questions, I think one of the spring questions is, how is Alabama going to look from a special team standpoint? And that's Connor Talty. That's Tucker Cornelius. Like, who the hell's Tucker Cornelius? Tucker Cornelius, very good prospect to know. Kareem Hood, you're exactly right. It was a long stretch with poor kicking. I'm serious. Like 8 years. It was like Coach Saban made a deal to be like, okay, we'll be the best team that you've seen, but our kicking will be atrocious, right? Yeah, Papanastis. Remember Andy Papanastis? Yeah, that was his name. And Adam Griffin. Yeah, those are some guys for sure. Joseph Bolivas. Those are some names that'll make you want to Alka-Seltzer. Seriously, right? So Connor Talty, and I'm talking about spring questions right here on the topics. You have a lot of I'm not going to say anxiety, but you have questions. How is this young man going to perform? Not even in springtime, but like during the actual season. Like there's going to be a lot of times during this year where you're going to need a field goal kicker to come in, knock down a 47-yarder. It's a big kick, right? A 37-yarder, whatever it is. And having a good field goal kicker is something that Alabama certainly needs. All college football teams need, but I think sometimes because we only talk about offense and defense when we talk football, we never talk about the special teams. And losing Will Reichert, it's a huge loss. Probably the second biggest loss, honestly, after losing Coach Saban.
What were the average points that Reichert put up each game?
That's a really good question. If you go back to the Alabama football stats, you can find this out.
Yeah.
Just type in Alabama football cumulative stats, and he was the leading point scorer for the last 4 seasons.
Right.
5
so
seasons.
That's,
significant.
Like the difference between winning and losing a lot of these games.
Yeah. So, and the point is like, I think losing Coach Saban, huge. Losing Will Reichert, huge. He's the all-time leading scorer in college football history. So having that consistency in your kicker is really important, specifically for Connor Talty, a guy who just spot played last year. He did have a tackle, though, so he's not afraid to tackle, which is awesome. The amazing thing is Will Reichert played here for 5 seasons, and he just had 1 tackle. Connor Talty played in 1 game, has had 1 tackle. Like, what? But the good news is on special teams, you're like, why are you talking about special teams? You don't have a good special teams, you'll have a nightmare season. What do you guys think, Undefeated, about James Burnett? Thumbs up. I think we really need to hype him up because Tim is asking about the special teams coach. Good question. So the special teams coach, from what I understand, is Jay Nunez, who came to Alabama from Oklahoma. He is going to work with the special teams, but on game day, and I'm not sure how this will work, he won't be counted as like an on-the-field coach. So he'll, be a support staff role. This sort of role exists in college football. It's weird, but he's like off-the-field coach. Thank you, Jared. But he will be like the special teams coach. James Burnett, a hell of a kicker, a hell of a punter, I should say. And I think he got better as the season went forward. He had a lot of times during the season where he flipped the fields. He really did for Alabama. I thought he did a really great job. And I don't think that we can lose sight about how impactful it is with him as the punter coming back. I think he's probably one of the top 5 punters coming back in college football. I think. Well, I have to look that up. I don't know, who keeps track of like the top punters, but yeah, I think that he's certainly one of the top guys in the country. Yeah, and he's from Australia. He tweets when he goes to Outback. It's awesome.
Really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
in Outback retweets him.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, because he was
Smart.
He tweeted and he was like, back for round 2. Because
I remember that actually. Yeah.
We talked to him last year and they were like, how was it? And he was like,
Yeah.
He was like 6 out of 5.
And they were like, let us do better.
I love that he was honest.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, is it 10? He was like, 6 out of 5. So
I'd give him higher than that.
yeah.
Outback?
Yeah,
I love Outback.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Me too. Yeah. I go to Outback right now.
Outback?
Yeah. All right. We got a super chat leaderboard. All right, cool. We'll get that added. Thank you so much. Super chat leaderboard. You read it out, see.
I think the leader is Kunte Plummer with $25. And then we have some new members, Lisa Tuberville, Brian Russell, and Abigail Hines. So thank you guys for joining.
All right. I threw that on you too. Nice work. Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. It's kind of all of the names that we've had to learn how to pronounce and to spell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been wild. I mean, who would have thought that Womack is Womack?
Yeah, we still need to add that a picture of our board.
Yeah, and Sab is like Tab.
We think, but that's still up for debate because he did respond. Oh, thank you, Kareem.
What's up?
We
Kareem?
appreciate the $5 sticker.
Yeah, but what did we?
So I messaged him on Twitter yesterday, Keon Sab, and I was like, so is it like Sab rhymes with tab, or is it like Saab, like the car? And he goes, yes, it's Saab, S-A-B-B. But I'm like, I don't know how he's saying it.
Yeah,
so I'm just like, I know it's Saab, or S-A-B-B, but like, how do you say it? And he didn't respond.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. That's anyways, we've had to learn all the names. I think that
okay, Byron is saying it is Sab.
Yeah, Sab. Okay. And then let's see. I mean, all the even Kapilovic. Kapilovic was a good one.
Yeah,
that was fun.
That's like where where like the inflection or like is on the syllable.
Well, that was weird. What was fun about that one was saying that during breaking news.
Kapilovic.
Yeah.
Lynn Shaneyfield.
What's up, Lynn?
Thank you, Lynn.
Oh yeah, because this is gonna be good because you had the Tiffins, who were like the first like OGs or kickers. So when I played at Bama, we had the greatest kicker in Bama history. Ooh, this could be a poll question. Van Tiffin. He beat Auburn twice. The guy was money. The game has changed with scoring, but he was money. I had to put my brother's name out there. Yeah, so the Tiffins, definitely among the greatest kickers. Lynn is saying the best. Is Van better than Will Reichard? Different times.
Yeah, I think it's hard to compare those two, right?
It's hard to compare any of those things. That's why you can't really even compare like Coach Saban, Coach Bryant. It's just like the different time periods. I don't know, kicking, but is kicking? Either way, yeah. Thank you so much, Lynn. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for the super chat this morning. And you moved up in the super chat leaderboard, by the way. Good question though, in terms of the kicker. The other questions that I had in terms of spring football, and we're talking about spring football on our YouTube videos that we've been uploading each day, is I'm curious to see when you look to the running back room specifically, how will Richard Young look? And what I mean by that is we know that Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, like those guys are going to be an elite tandem, right? We've talked about top tandems, and you even voted that would be the top tandem. Spring football, Tim, starts March 4th. And then they're going to go for that week, I think probably like 2 or 3 practices. They will then take off for spring break and then come back. But it'll be a completely different system. I mean, we've never seen any spring football practice like this that Coach Kaylen DeBoer is doing. Usually Coach Saban would start like one day before spring ball or spring break and then go back, or sometimes he just start after spring break. but I've never seen it before spring break and then stop with spring break. So
Saban would start a day, like one day before spring break, and then stop for a week and then go back.
Yeah, he did that. He did that a couple times. I think the thought process was during those times was to keep kind of the players like accountable, being like, hey, don't do anything stupid.
Gotcha.
Because we've already started spring football practice.
That makes sense.
Right. But there's been a couple times too where he started after spring ball. So we haven't even it's March 4th. The day is March 4th. We've gotten the first day, but in terms of like the university, they usually sent us kind of like a printout of the days that is not official for like media. It'll probably happen when I go to lunch today. I'm going to lunch with Ryan Fowler today of Tide 100.9. But it'll probably news will happen at that point. I'll manifest that. See. Efron, what's up, man? Would you see any competition during practice? Can you report? Oh yeah. So I think under the new regime, who by the way is Coach Kaylen DeBoer is talking to everybody. I mean, he's allowing people to be at his facility, to have radio shows. He's doing radio interviews. He's all over. He's very accessible. From what I understand is you get to view some practices, probably not all the practices, but Coach Saban, you couldn't see any of the practices. In fact, so much so that a lot of the parents, couldn't even see practices when Alabama played under Coach Saban. I know, one of the top quarterbacks, no longer on the roster now, but he was a, standout starter. His dad, could not see practices here. Like they're like, nope, it's even close to you. So, but I think, this year will be different. Plus, I'm excited to see this. So usually like media, we can't go to the summer football camps for high school students, but there is a gray area when you have a son who goes to the football camp. So Kayden, you guys know Kayden. He's going to be a sophomore this year, inside linebacker. He's going to go to the camp, so I'll be able to go as his father to the camp. Check it out. Should be pretty cool to see kind of behind the scenes. He went last year to the kicking camp, and he said that it was pretty much like a cattle call. He said that there was like 500 kickers, and he, so we'll see, this year what it's like. See, Jared, that's the interesting thing is like you have open practices. You know who has all open practices is Florida State. Florida State is completely open. You get to talk to the OC, the DC, watch practice, talk to all the coaches. I mean, you're there for like 3 hours. So I've talked with the Florida State guys about that. That would have been the cool thing if, Mike Norvell would have been the coach here, is that all the practices would have been open, not for the fans, but like for the media. You get to literally watch everything and talk to everybody. Saban had it completely closed. Everything was closed. But I think he was he had such a megaphone that his word just carried over. But, he did it his way. But I also think, too, is that because they did allow ESPN. I mean, Alabama, excuse me, Alabama and ESPN have always had a close relationship. So ESPN was always the one that could go behind the scenes to watch practices. But they wouldn't allow anybody else. I don't think, ESPN was getting to do that for free, or they were just, they wanted it just to be on that platform. I don't know. But I will tell you this. I did email Alabama to ask if Kaylen DeBoer would come on to the YouTube channel. They did not respond. So I've asked them several times to be able to talk to Coach Kaylen DeBoer, but I haven't heard anything in return. So I know there's, other media outlets that have had opportunities to talk with Coach Kaylen DeBoer, but I, maybe that comes at a point in time, but I'm not sure. But I certainly reached out. I sent an email to them in early February and did not hear back. But, all things in time, so it's all good. Coach Smook is up next at 10, and Merrill is off the rest of the week. He has some personal things that he has to take care of. So he's on assignment, like we like to say, kind of in the business. So he'll be back at another point. But we have Coach Smook who will be rolling through a little after 10. He's getting Jared, I'm doing all those things behind the scenes, just like I don't understand sometimes the platform, sometimes people can see it as like an adversarial thing, which I don't understand why. It's like we talk about Alabama football, but it's like there's this like really like tight curtain around. I don't know why. Like even some people from like Yay Alabama have me blocked on Twitter, which I have no idea why. It's like I don't understand why some of those things happen. But I keep pressing, man. I keep emailing and trying to get those interviews and different things over here. So we'll see how it goes. Other spring questions, and at 10 o'clock or probably a little after, you have Coach Smook rolling through. I know he's taking care of some personal stuff as he gets situated here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But I was talking about Richard Young, and I think with Richard Young as the running back, he's a guy I want to see how he moves, what his speed is like, how he can catch the football. I'm sure he is really excited to get onto the field, be part of this, program in an even bigger aspect. Last year, he just didn't get many opportunities. But this year, I really have my eye on him going into spring football. We talked about this before, the wide receivers. There's so many guys to kind of choose from, but which do you think will stand out during spring ball? I'm kind of, for whatever reason, like my heart is saying Emmanuel Henderson. I don't know if it's because we have the same last name. I'm also thinking like Caleb Odom, the freshman that's coming in. I don't know. I feel like Emmanuel Henderson is due. And of course, like Kobe Prentice, you guys know I'm a huge fan of him, and Kendrick Law. And just because I don't mention a player's name doesn't mean like I'm against him. I'm just thinking some other guys who like might rise up during this time, because I think with like Emmanuel Henderson, he's a guy who was hurt, and I think that's what held him back. But I think that he had it. Well, I actually know that he performed really well in the Rose Bowl practice. Again, just didn't get the opportunities. Offensive line rotation is something that I'm really, really curious about. You have the components, and this is probably another thing too. Let me ask you, Undefeated, do you feel that Tyler Booker or Jaden Roberts will play a different position other than guard? For example, maybe in some sort of even experiment during the springtime, do you think that one or the other will try out at tackle or be moved to tackle? Maybe that's a better way to say it. I don't know. I have no idea. Jared's saying no. And that's another top tandem, right, in the country. And then you have Parker Brailsford at center. So we pretty much know our interior, which is really, really good. But the tackles, open for business. Coach Sean had a great video talking about Elijah Pritchett as a tackle. You also have Miles McVay, Olas Alanin. Welcome. I'm always proud of myself when I say that name correctly, because I was saying Olas Aline, but it's Alanin.
Yeah, we've been saying it wrong for how long now?
A decade.
Sorry, Ola.
Aaron, what's up? Yes, this is live. Aaron, what's up, man? We haven't been doing a lot of the replays lately because, it's just February, but our goal is to have content creators throughout the day covering news as it happens. So, sometimes we run the replays, sometimes we don't. February, May, and June will be completely different how we cover football and run everything on the YouTube channel as opposed to the football months. So, and I'm always like experimenting with different things, but I feel I have a pretty good understanding of what will work best for our channel specifically during the season. This is not the season right now. This is the off season. We're not supposed to say off season, right? But you get what I mean. Like when there's actually football practice and stuff like that, we're going to cover it, in a different way than we would cover it in February. So I don't know. The offensive tackles are the biggest question mark. What do you do with like a James Brockemeyer? Will one of these younger guys step up at the tackle spot? Will Alabama go to the transfer portal, that April 15th window? If they're not happy with how things are looking, I still think that they could. Will we see kind of an emergence in Nyquil Ben trade as a tackle? I don't know. Those are all my questions. I actually probably the most questions that I have are on the offensive line. Defensive line. You have your two plugs, Tim Keenan and Jaheim Otis. But how are other guys going to be used? Like one guy that I'm really excited to see is like LT Overton, Keon Keeley, Yanze Pierre, Quay Russo, even Quindarius Robinson. I keep talking about Q-Rob. Can't wait to see those guys put in work. I think, honestly, Phil, and I asked a poll question. Who are you guys like most excited like as a breakthrough type player? And I think a lot of people said Q-Rob. Here's a really good photo. This is I think this is Rock Montgomery, offensive lineman. This is from yesterday. The University of Alabama sent these photos out, posted them on their social media rather. But this is a big Rock Montgomery. That's a big dude. That's a big man for sure. You also have, see if I can get a couple more in here. I love this one. This is a Yanze Pierre. Yanze will be a redshirt freshman at the University of Alabama, putting in work, sled work. I love it. Fourth quarter program is a great time of year. Here's one of another, be a sophomore actually this year, in Justice Haynes, the running back, also pushing the sled. Look at those legs. Man, this dude is like, he's different. Justice Haynes, 100%. Here's Jahad Campbell. Man, they've been getting after it. I mean, this is the time of year. This is what college football players do. Strength and conditioning, getting ready for March. That way you're not warming up in March. You're going hard in March. Going heavy. These dudes already have the spring break bods, right? They're not like panicking. They're not doing they're already built for it. All right, Kim, don't worry. We'll see you later on, Kim. Appreciate you. Miss you too. It's been nice. Yeah. Jahad Campbell, he's grown for sure. I think that actually I wanted to show you another one too. And it was Justice Jefferson. Coach Darrell did a breakdown on him, and I think this is him right here. Yeah, this is him. He said he could be added depth in terms of the inside linebackers. As you know, you have Jahad and you have Deontay Lawson, but Justice Jefferson right here in the middle of your screen, he's another guy I don't think we can forget about. Transfer from Georgia, or was he the junior college? I forget. Jor, help me out, or Jared. Maybe he's a guy that could have a breakout. And then you have Jahad Campbell over here on the far side. Yeah, Milroe does look bigger. I have a photo of Milroe. This is Milroe from the fourth quarter pro. But Milroe always looks big. This is my favorite photo, though, this fourth quarter program. Jaden Roberts. He's the Hulk. Like, pushing weight. I mean, dude's a monster for sure. Where'd my overlay go? What's up, fam? Other questions that I had, the inside linebacker, we talked about that, kind of the depth, I guess, right? Like who will stand out in the depth at the inside linebacker position behind Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson. And then I guess like freshmen in the secondary, right? There's going to be a lot of those guys. Oh yeah. Thank you, Moonrocker. Justin Jefferson out of Memphis. Appreciate you. All those young freshmen in the secondary, Zay Mincy, Jalen Mbakwe, Red Morgan, right? Because usually, and I say this quite a few times, is like those guys didn't really get on the field. Jordan Renard, yeah, another one. those guys couldn't get on the field, for a little bit of time or kind of in the back of the line. But I think these guys are going to be like up front now, doing their thing. Tom G, what's up, man? Thanks for being a fan funder. Texas Longhorn fan that's a fan funder. Love it. What other positions do you think he plays in the NFL? Probably won't play quarterback. Who, Jalen Milroe? No, I think Jalen Milroe will play quarterback. Caleb is saying, looks like Antonio Kite is staying at Auburn. I didn't see that he was unhappy there. I don't follow like much like Auburn, like behind the scenes stuff. Hopefully it works out for him. I think that he's going to be really good. I liked his game. I think a lot of these guys, things. I think some of the secondary guys probably left a little bit too early, in my opinion. Maybe they were chasing the bag. Maybe they got paid or whatever. I don't know. But like, I think like a guy like Trey Amos, I kind of wonder, like, did he leave like chasing the bag? Did he get like, a pretty penny from Ole Miss? Because I liked his game. Yeah. Lynn is saying, you a member of Yale, Alabama? I can't be a member of Yale, Alabama because I'm media. So that would make me like, associated with the university. So I can't be a member of Yale, Alabama, but I can support their product and tell everybody to go do it for sure. But I just cannot be a member of it. Those are like the rules of like the media. Yeah, so those are kind of my spring questions. And again, like we'll start to have like some NFL Combine stuff, coming your way, here in the next couple of days. And then spring football starts on March the 4th. So if you have any questions, I'll be here for just, a few more minutes while we're waiting for Coach Smook. So you guys can drop it inside the comment box. T, what is that poll looking like that we asked at the beginning of the day, the poll of the day?
Bo Jackson is the clear leader with 63%. And then Deion Sanders, 30%. That just changed a little bit, 28%.
Yeah.
And then Michael Jordan 6% and John Elway 1%.
Yeah. So I went up to what is the high school that Bo Jackson played at over here? McAdory. So my son had a game they played a couple years ago when he was in 8th grade. We went up to McAdory. So McAdory, as you know, here in if you're familiar with this area, it's not too far from Tuscaloosa at all. On the way to Birmingham, right towards that back way. So you go to McAdory. Bo Jackson played at McAdory, and so I was talking to this older gentleman. I don't know, he's like maybe like 60. He was sitting in kind of like a like just posted up on like a picnic chair, just watching the scrimmage. Same thing I was on the opposite side, and as McAdory beat Northridge, I don't know, 63-0 at halftime. I turned to this guy and I was like, hey, by the way, do you remember Bo Jackson when he was in high school? And he was like, yep, I do. And he's like, you ever play that game Tecmo Bowl? And I was like, yeah, of course. And he was like, it was like that, but in high school. He was like, Bo Jackson was just unbelievable. So, yeah, all-time great for sure. I mean, he had a killer arm, outfielder. Just an incredible athlete, right? Man, still number one. I know, just a career. Didn't he have like the same type of hip injury that Tua had, right? But they were able to like put in Tua's hip at I was at that game in Mississippi State. I'll never forget it. That was crazy. Tua, the amount of injuries that Tua has had, man. Yeah, I mean, Bo Jackson was different, man. Yeah, pretty much, yes, right? It was like the exact same thing, but I think from my understanding, they were able to pop it back in, and then I'll never forget this. The stadium went completely quiet. It was crazy. Stark Vegas was like dead. So they put him on, and they took him off on the stretcher, and the game continued, and it was really eerie because so that when the game resumed, you could see a helicopter flying away.
Ooh.
And so, so they, he went. I guess he flew right back to Tuscaloosa or to Birmingham, probably Birmingham, right? Did work on him, and then literally the next day, they flew him on a private jet to Houston, and that's where he had emergency hip surgery.
Yikes!
But it all happened like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within like a 16-hour span, and you know, that was wild. And I remember walking up inside the media room at the University of Alabama. I'm not exaggerating. There was, because people love Tua like you've never seen before. Like they loved, like the amount of love that people have for Tua was like different. And they were literally like the mail lady was bringing in boxes and boxes and boxes of get well cards for Tua.
Oh.
Like I was like, because I asked her one time, the lady sitting at the front, I think her name's Jennifer. I was like, hi, Miss Jennifer. I was like, are these from today? No, she's like, no, these are from like 20 minutes ago.
Jeez.
And it was literally like a box like the size of my desk of just cards.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, no one wants to see an athlete like that get an injury like that, right? But it's crazy what they can come back from now.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like you look at like, okay, so I mentioned earlier in the show, you lose Coach Saban and you lose Will Riker, right? But I think it was so impactful for these two guys to stay on board at the University of Alabama. Jeff Allen and David Ballou. David Ballou is your strength and conditioning coach who works with the players pretty much every single day. So you don't have to change anything there. Huge. But also Jeff Allen, like he's been a staple of this program. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if you cruise by Malmore, so you have the Malmore facility, you have the baseball facility, you have Coleman, and situated right. Oh, then you have the indoor, and then right in between the indoor and the Malmore facility is what they call the Alabama Sports and Science Center, which Jeff Allen oversees. And it's like this high-end technology about getting players, for like, getting them, up to speed if they have like ankle injury or a knee injury or whatever. Like there's all these like high technology. And like, think about it this year. Alabama was really healthy this year, right? You had Devontae Smith who was out. You had Emmanuel Henderson, but you didn't, thank goodness, knock on wood, you didn't have any knees, right? And you had ankle injuries, but the guys recovered from their ankle injuries so fast.
Yeah, like a week, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You ever had a high ankle sprain?
Yeah, those are awful.
Don't wish that on anybody.
For a normal person, like 8 weeks, right?
Yeah. Thank you. who was it? Deontay Lawson had an ankle. Was he out like a week?
I don't even think so. I think he was back the next game.
Jeez. Yeah, tightrope surgery. Tua had that. Tua had all the surgeries.
All the surgeries.
He did.
I know.
Yeah, so that was those were the I'm just saying, like keeping Jeff Allen and David Ballou just ultra huge. We have an update on Coach Smook?
Yeah, he's still there.
Okay, cool. I think what we'll do, fam, is we're going to end our segment now. Coach Smook is he's taking care of some stuff, so we're going to end the programming right now. We'll be back again later on tonight. I have a lunch meeting. I'm actually meeting with Ryan Fowler of 100.9, and actually meeting with the I don't know. So everyone knows Ryan Fowler, right? Does Tide 100? We've talking about him. He's been doing a great job. Before he was in radio, and I think he's probably a little bit older than me. But for like 15 years, he was a paramedic here in Tuscaloosa. For like 15 years. And he worked with Edgar Calloway. Edgar Calloway is the head paramedic here in Tuscaloosa.
Oh.
And he is the head guy that teaches CPR, and his specialty is IVs. So he does. I don't think he does this anymore, but he used to give all the Alabama football players
Yeah, the
IVs during
IVs.
halftime. And there's like a special technique that you have to do this, I'm told.
Yeah.
So Edgar Calloway is the person who came out and who taught a class that I attended, CPR, and I think he's going to be at the lunch today. We're going to CPR. We're going to Southern Ale House. You been to this? We tried to go once.
Yeah, we went for a drink one night.
Yeah, so Southern Ale House is certainly we'll check it out today and report back. But yeah, hey BT, if you want to become a fan funder, you can hit that hyperlink. If you were gifted one, you can $2.99. So if you can, I appreciate you guys. Full moon is so good. The full moon is like I don't know what I've been doing. I hadn't been going to full moon. Now look, I love Dreamland as well. I'm just saying full moon is like unbelievable. So I was missing out. Plus their portions are, I mean, like one portion is honestly like for 3 people. Full moon. All right, fam. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate you guys so much. We will be back on this afternoon, and I appreciate you guys joining. Thank you very much for being a fan funder right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up on all these videos, and we really appreciate you guys joining us this morning right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we will be back soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube or as news happens, and we will catch you soon. See you guys.
Sure.